Oh, yeah. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We are continuing with chapter 5, text 23. The title of the chapter is Karma Yoga. And this will be session number 32. So we didn't start from the first chapter doing these open sessions as such, but I think we started from the third chapter. Does anyone can remember? Okay, I think so, third chapter. So anyway, we've done over 31 hours so far of discussion. So this will be 32, session 32, all right? So let's offer some prayers to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Bhataya, Krishna Vishtahaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane, Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline, Nivasesha Sunyavari Pashtatara Satarine, Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And I think, as happened last time, because we finished a number of scheduled meetings, then we might have lost a couple of people, but it's the same link as we've had from the beginning. So, so if you know anyone who's trying to get in, just tell them it's the same link as before. Okay? Hare Krishna. So let's jump in Bhagavad, and I'm really looking forward to this reading this evening. I've been doing a lot of management here on the ground the last 2 days. I'm really looking for some shelter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so let's have someone read. I can begin from text 23. Let me double check that. Text 23. Yes. Anyone would like to read? There's not many of you out there at the beginning. So Anupama, you there or you?
I can read.
Okay. Ahead.
Yeah. All right. Text 5:23.
Yes.
Text 23, chapter 5. Saknotyaiva yasodam praksarira vimokshanat kamakrododbhavam vegam sayukta sa sukhinara. Okay. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. Purport, Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. If one wants to make steady progress on the path of self-realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are forces of talk, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of the stomach, forces of genitals, and forces of the tongue. One who is able to control the forces of all these different senses and the mind is called Goswami or Swami. Such Goswamis live strictly controlled lives and forgo altogether the forces of the senses. Material desires, when unsatiated, generate anger, and thus the mind, eyes, and chest becomes agitated. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up this body. One who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is the duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. So again, just a reminder that if you do have any questions, you can put in the chat, or you can just raise your hand, or you can just unmute and speak away if you have any questions. But are there any specific questions or comments here?
Yeah, it says material desires when unsatiated generate anger, and thus the mind, eyes, and so on become agitated. But as devotees, because we're not pure, we still have material desires that we are not satisfying because we are focusing more on Krishna consciousness and purifying our, desires. So maybe we have material desires that are not becoming satiated, but yet we're not generating anger over that.
Yeah, if I am,
because
carry on.
Krishna is helping us.
Yeah, if I mean, I missed.
Would you say?
Yes, definitely. I missed the first part of your comment stroke question.
I was just saying, because we have material desires as devotees that are unsatiated, perhaps because we just have generated material desires from maybe being materially orientated before Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, yeah.
And those desires are still there, but when they're not getting satiated, but yet they're not. It says here, unsatiated desires generate anger, but is that because the chanting is subduing those desires?
Yeah, you could say that. Ultimately, in essence, that is what is going on. As it's also said that it's an offense to maintain material desires. So even after understanding so many instructions, yeah. So many instructions about the futility of material desire. So we transform desire, just like even in material life, before taking up spiritual life, there will be certain stages in your life where you will desire certain things, certain objects of the senses. Yeah, but then those desires may change, and you may desire another type of sense objects or another type of interaction with the material world. So point I'm making here is that material desires, even for a materialist, they change. Yeah. They more or less focus on the same thing, that's means satisfying the senses, but they may change in how they actually do it. So the idea of Krishna consciousness, it's just like, I heard one example was given, it's just like if you have a cup and you want to dispel the ink and the cup is half filled, if you keep filling it with water, gradually the water will displace the colored water and you'll get clear water. So we practice Krishna consciousness and we put certain gross activities on hold, even though the desires may still be there. Yeah. Param Drishtan Avatade. Yeah. In order for us to progress in spiritual life, there are certain things that we are advised to do, and we have our regulative principles. So they may still linger there in the beginning. But then as we practice Krishna consciousness, those material desires will dissolve in proportion to our desires to love and to serve Krishna. They will go of their own accord. As we, because you mentioned at the end there, chanting Hare Krishna. So in essence, what you're saying is correct. So as we engage in Krishna consciousness and we become attracted to Krishna, and even if a devotee may fall prey to their previous gross material desires, if the devotee is sincere, then they will be repentant. I just read this recently. And that repentance purifies them of material desire as well. Even hearing Srimad Bhagavatam will free you from material desires. Associating with devotees will free you from material desires. Yeah? There's a series of verses in the second chapter, the first canto, which describes that by rendering service to the devotee, or describes that Shrimbatam Swakata Krishna. Some of you might know this word. Shrimbatam Swakata Krishna, Punya Swavaketana, Ritiston Dipatrani, Vit or Noti Saritsatam. So Vit or Noti, that means a tight rope of material desire. by actually serving the Vaishnavas, by engaging in devotional service, then Krishna will untie those knots of material desires that is within the heart. So that's the idea, is that devotees are not, they may be in the beginning subduing desires, material desires, which may still be there in a subtle body, but the idea is through the process of bhakti, for the process of associating with devotees, then you stop desiring things that you used to desire. Yeah, and some of us, I'm sure we can reflect that certain things I would desire, certain type of music I would desire to listen to before I joined, a certain type of food I would desire to eat. Now I don't have that desire anymore. Like I used to eat meat before I took the Krishna consciousness. And that's one thing I have lost a desire for. I can say quite, I have no desire. The thought of it, this actually disgusts me. I'm disgusted even with the thought of having to eat meat. Like today, I walk past, as is everywhere, I walk past this advertisement for, and I don't even mention it, but it's this steakhouse beef charcoal burger, charcoal, with this special flavoring, this big advert, I found it repulsive, let alone go, let alone make an endeavor to eat such a thing. So I'm just giving an example where we can, even practically speaking, we can all perhaps give different examples of things we used to desire, but now we don't desire them anymore. Why? Because we've been associating with devotees, we've been chanting the holy name, etc. So devotees are not just suppressing desires. And this is, so for a materialistic person, they have unlimited desires. And the general ways of the world is, according to one's karma, then, okay, you may have a million desires, but according to the ways of the world and to your karma, you will not be able to fulfill all the dreams that you have within your heart and all your aspirations. Yeah. So, for instance, most people desire to be fabulously stinking rich, could say. That's the word. A lot of people do, but only a few will be. And even those who are, they're not happy. Yeah. Did that help, Mother Lavangalatika? Did that give some different angle on that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes,
Some
I
thought came to me, Prabhu, when I don't know, because of I always see this devotee association of devotees, everything is coming from Mahaprabhu. Because although it's mentioned in Bhagavatam, the verse you said, but I don't know, this thought came to me just now. If not for Mahaprabhu's appearance, this much devotee care, association of devotees, that importance is not really emphasized. Is that right, Prabhu? Do you want to comment on this?
let me just say that if I understood the question, you're saying that the principle of association and the importance of association with devotees is often not emphasized enough. And you
enough. I don't know. I think it's just the mercy of Mahaprabhu, because it's all Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of the purifications, association of devotees, all that. We didn't have all these in Bhagavatam or in Bhagavad Gita. I don't know. This thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Srila Prabhupada gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita, and that is the you could say that is the mission of Lord Chaitanya, who comes to show us how to be a devotee.
Exactly.
He is Krishna, and he is showing us how to be a devotee. That's why reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, a very good point you're making there, Maimata, that we can learn how devotees should associate with each other. And you read there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how much the devotees praise each other and how much they hanker and relish the fellow association of Vaishnavas. Yeah. So Lord Chaitanya is coming to teach us how to behave as a devotee and how to put the principle of devotee association, how to actually do that. And that's coming to us through Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, which is coming to us in the form of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So yes, thank you, Malvinitai Mata. If we want to, I think it's saying we want to learn how to associate with devotees, then we can read about it very nicely in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, thank you, Hare Krishna. You should always remind us of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you. It's a good disciple of Jayapataka Maharaj. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Anybody else on this? I have a few points I could bring up here. A few notes on this verse. Okay, and you can we have a few more devotees with us now. Hare Krishna. Someone else must be letting them in because they're all getting in the front door and I'm not letting anyone in. Must be someone. Anyway, you're here. Thank you for coming. So there's a. Let's here. So how long do we have to? Here, how long do we have to tolerate the pushings of the mind and senses? How long? This verse.
Until we leave the body.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, as just reading it. Oh God, how long will we have to tolerate the pushing of the mind and senses? Does Maya ever give up? One day will we wake up and be completely liberated from all the impediments? Yeah. This is why this word. One second. This is why this word is used, which is used in the second chapter. Titiksha, tolerate. So we have to learn to tolerate. Yep, the urges. And I was reading here, there were some words interesting. It's used that we have to. Where's that word? It's really interesting that we have to. Let me find it. Neutralize. So, as a devotee, we're going to experience anger. Even when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you've taken vows, you may have taken initiation, you read Bhagavad Gita, but you're going to be in a situation where you're going to feel anger. Yeah. So this verse is telling us what we have to do. We have to neutralize it. We have to not act according to it. There's other verses that describe that lust and anger, they are gates leading to the lower worlds. So this verse is asking this of us, yeah, that we have to check the force of anger, calm and krodha. Yeah. It says, yeah, when they manifest. So for instance, lust. Okay, we've taken, some of us may have taken vows and etc. And we're living a sattvic life, trying to. But then we may feel the forces of lust. Yeah. What do? Well, we have to learn to take shelter of Krishna, or we have to learn to turn away from it. In the Mahabharata, there's interesting series of verses which I took note of, that it describes that lust will go away if you turn your face away from it. If you turn your back on it, it will go away. Yeah. But if you give it attention, it'll come at you with more force. Yeah. So we have to turn away from it. We have to learn to neutralize it. And this is what yogis do. This is what they do, but we do through the process of Krishna consciousness. And ultimately it's described here that, was it in this verse or the next one? That how can we do this? It's by being immersed in the bliss of the soul. Yeah. By being immersed in the bliss of Krishna consciousness, then we can tolerate the urges of the material senses. Yeah. And then we can be happy, because the idea is that at the time of death, we should have never. Yeah. Yeah, quote here, this is from Shita Swami. For the greatest good, it behooves all humans to staunchly resist the greatest enemies of human consciousness, karma and krodha. And Prabhupada speaks about it in the purport here. Yeah? One is called a Goswami. So the idea is that at the time of death, we can be inward focused, yeah, and not disturbed. Yeah? So we're practicing, to tolerate the difficulties that come from within the material body. So, any other further questions or comments on this? Yeah.
Prabhu, I wanted to
Yes.
add
Sorry, cut you off, Dhananjay, please. Yeah.
On regulating our lust. There is also one perspective that I heard is that if you keep yourself occupied all the time and you plan the future time for yourself. So basically, if you have a plan what you are going to do tomorrow or how you want to work out your day, if you have that in your plan and you plan in advance, you don't give yourself time to sit idle with your thoughts and plan how you can evolve yourself. So if we have plan and we keep ourselves busy, we don't have any room in our mind for lust.
Yeah, to some degree, I would say that's correct. But there is please.
Remember Vaisesika Prabhu. He says, always be busy. Like if you're waiting at the car and someone's coming to the car, you get out your book and you read a verse. And he does that. He utilizes all those little moments in the day when he's waiting for someone, or he's like in the queue at the supermarket, he'll get out his phone or something and look up a verse.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So he never lets those little moments get away, because those little moments are when you're off guard, basically, and Maya will come and get you.
Yeah, very nice. There's also in the Srimad Bhagavatam that to overcome lust, one should make plans with determination. So it definitely plays a big role to be engaged. I remember Vaisheshika explaining that in one seminar as well, the same what Mavalabanga Latika just mentioned. He mentioned how one time he went to a bank and there was a big queue in a bank. So he could be there for like 45 minutes or half an hour. And he thought, wonderful, what a wonderful queue. Now I can learn this sloka. Now I can learn that sloka. So he was happy. And he said, from that point on, I would look for long queues so I could get out my slokas. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I don't actually do that. Sometimes I go in a supermarket like Lidl or something, and there's like 30 people in front of me. It's like depressing, I should take I should pull out a sloka. Or we can always chant Hare Krishna. We can always bring out that sloka and chant Hare Krishna. But thank you. But ultimately, is Krishna consciousness. It is the happiness and the bliss of Krishna consciousness, which is going to keep us, it's going to keep us safe, But yeah, we can employ these things to keep engaging Krishna consciousness. Yes.
Yeah, he says an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Yeah, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. I think Prabhupada quoted that more than once. I think it's quoted in the Nectar of Instruction. Actually, Prabhupada speaks that in the purple. Yeah.
Actually, this we learnt in school when we were little.
All right. Okay. An idle mind is a devil's workshop.
Yeah, I remember my dad used to say that always.
So here we're being encouraged that, again, let's read the rest. Before giving up the present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the forces of desire and anger, he is well situated in the happiness world. And it goes on to explain in some of the commentaries that the Prabhupada speaks of it, that one is therefore qualified one is therefore ready to leave this world in Krishna consciousness. Because let me define that. Sometimes just like pages keep moving. Because one must, because at death one must be established in equanimity. Yeah, poised, centered, and content at the time of death, and that we have to practice for. So that's why it's mentioned here. We should practice these things while we're approaching that point. So at the time of death, no matter what's going on, we may have tubes down our throat, we may be strapped up to a machine, beep, 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 beep. There may be so much going on within our body, the liver's collapsing, this is collapsing, this thing's going, the kidneys are not functioning, and this and that, and there's bright lights in your face, there's nurses with masks on, and you're strapped up to a machine, and you got to be, at that point, you got to be, let's find it again, poised, you got to be centered on who?
Prabhu,
So we have to practice.
Prabhu,
Yes,
I
please.
just was thinking, Prabhu, of course, when we have the beads, we chant, and with this situation that we were explaining, what
Yeah,
is
sorry
happening
to
in the
paint
body.
such a graphic picture.
No, actually, I was thinking, Prabhu, even without the beads, if we concentrate, because that time we may not be holding the beads. So
Yeah,
it is better even now, if we anytime if you're just walking on the street, still if you chant on your own, and then automatically it will come on your lips when in
Yeah.
every moment.
This is a good point. I actually do that. Actually, I often, especially on trains and places like that, I don't like to chant in such a way that persons can see me. Someone up. I was on trains and public transport, so I chant, but I chant Manasa, and I'm doing that also because I'm practicing in case at a time when I leave this world, then I'm unable to use my active material faculty, the tongue. So I practice chanting Hare Krishna within my mind.
Yeah.
As well. Also, I do it for practical purposes as well. When I'm on a train or a plane, something, I still finger my beads, but it's practically manasa. So that's a good point. We can practice doing that. Without beads, we can practice going over the mantra. I mean, there are some devotees I know. Keshavarti Maharaj is one who's learned the art of chanting 24 hours a day, apparently. That is not to be imitated. Not to be imitated. But yes. So
Mahataji, remember Prabhu, Harikirtan Prabhu's wife? She, when she's cooking, every time she is chanting.
Yeah, it's good. It's the Hari, constant chanting. Yeah.
Mm.
So, all right. Any other questions here about this verse? Let's see. Yeah.
Did we read in Nectar of Devotion, anger can also be used in Krishna's service?
Yeah.
We-
So, can you tell us how to do that?
But I was thinking of the situation when one of the Pandava brothers stood up and wanted Krishna to be what's the word? See, my mind's not that good. Worship first.
Shishupal?
No, not Shishupal. What was his younger brother? Nakul or something.
Oh, no, yes. So, Shishupal was against Krishna being worshipped.
Against it, yes. And then one of them was angry and
Yeah,
they
the
said,
two
like,
brothers were putting forward the proposal that he's the best person, he should be worshipped first.
yes.
Go on.
I was just thinking that anger, being angry, you can also use that in Krishna's service. Even us, like if somebody's blaspheming somebody, devotee or something like that, you can be angry and don't talk, don't
Yeah,
say things like,
there is specific circumstances, and Nautam Das Thakur, he sings he writes about that in Bhakti Chandrika. Yeah, yeah. And he gives the example. Anyone know who's a classic example of someone who used anger in the Lord's service?
It's Hanuman.
Hanuman, yeah, when he burnt down Lanka.
Lanka.
Yeah,
Lanka.
yeah. Now, having said that, especially, having said that, we should be very, very careful that we don't misunderstand this and justify ourselves at being angry at devotees, etc. It is said if a devotee is being attacked or blasphemed, then one should become, it's only natural one's going to become angry. One should act in such a way to stop that, or if one is unable, one should leave the place. But generally speaking, we should not think we're like Hanuman. We should be very careful, and we should avoid anger. But there are examples, and it can be used in Lord's service. Arjuna, no doubt, he would, and the Pandavas, but the way they was treated by the Kurus and being ordered by Krishna and engage in warfare, especially Bhima, he definitely used his pented up anger to annihilate all the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. So it can be, but that's generally using anger in the service of the Lord is generally done by very, very advanced devotees. Yeah, Prabhupada would sometimes become very angry at his disciples, to the where his lips would start shaking. And I know it. Prabhupada's really angry, but then that anger wouldn't poison or wouldn't agitate him. For instance, when we become angry, it takes perhaps a few days to get over it, or a few hours. But Prabhupada, for instance, he would become angry at a disciple for their stupidness, something they'd done ridiculously wrong. And so he would be angry. But then 1 minute later, he would be in a complete, that anger wouldn't even be noticed. So he would use it in the service in order to correct his disciples, But Prabhupada wasn't one to become agitated and angry on a daily basis. That is not a good sign. Sometimes when a devotee is becoming angry on a regular basis, generally it should be a concern. It should be a concern. Something's not right. Anything else on that? Opened up a bit of a Pandora's box. All right, so I'm just go back to see the verse before. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and a wise man does not delight in them. Okay, so this is how we move around the world. And this verse describes Yeah, tolerating urges of karma and krodha, being well situated. And I'm bringing up the point that is in the commentary here that this has to be done throughout our life, okay? But through Krishna consciousness, through the bliss of Krishna consciousness, we're able to do it, and we want to be equipoised and absorbed in Krishna when the moment we're leaving this body. Yeah. Okay. Anything else from anyone else? Let's have a look at the next verse. Text 24. Let me just look here. So we mentioned it, but this verse is speaking about the pleasure of spiritual realization. Yeah. Okay. Someone else would like to read?
And I, Prabhu?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank
24.
you. 24. Yonata Suko Natar Aramas Tat Tatan Tar Jyotir Evaya Sayogi Brahma Nirvantam Brahma Bhurto Digachati. Translation: one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagement meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by functional experience. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This state is called Brahmabhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead, back home. Back to home.
Thank you. Sounds very attractive, doesn't it? You can sit silently in any place and enjoy the activities of life within. Yeah. Without smoking, without checking your phone messages every 2 minutes. Yes. Anyway, any questions on this?
That's the biggest question, Prabhu. Checking the messages is the biggest problem.
Yeah, yeah. Just playing around with it, I guess we all do that, but yeah, we should. Yeah, unless one is able to relish happiness from within. So Dhananjaya, so this is like a further comment upon the point that you made. Yeah, we can make plans and keep ourselves busy, but ultimately, this is what's going to help us to become free of the influence of the modes of nature. They manifest in anger or desire. It's this here. What's the Sanskrit for it? Anta sukha, happiness within. Anta atmarama, actively enjoying within, aiming within. Anta jyoti, aiming within. This is the real mystic. So unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? So that no doubt what you mentioned, and we also gave wonderful example of Vaisheshika, who doesn't waste a minute. But actually, he's given that example, but he's given that example from the level of ruchi. So he's doing it because he's, for instance, pulling out a sloka at any opportunity because it's giving him transcendental pleasure. Yeah, because he has a taste for it. But also it's relevant to sadhakas as well. We can do these type of things to keep our mind absorbed in Krishna. But he's doing it out of a natural attraction. You understand? So we may not have that natural attraction, but if we do, as he is given an example, then we will become attracted. Then we will start to develop such a taste. If we, for instance, again, get into the example of a cue, we pull out a sloka or we read Bhagavad Gita, then we will develop a taste for it. Yeah. So again, unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? Yeah. Now, there's also verses that we read before as well, that this comes in due course of time. It's not something that's developed immediately. These are the fruits that come from a practice of bhakti going over, you could say, many years. That one will come to this stage of being completely, the chair just collapsed, completely satisfied by dint of their practice of Krishna consciousness throughout the years, because they're sitting down with a pure heart. They have a purified heart. They have purified themselves of their material attachments, so they can happily sit in one place and chant Hare Krishna. Yeah? Chant Hare Krishna. Chant more Hare Krishna. Because devotees don't sit silently. It says here to sit silently. I was listening to a lecture today. Prabhupada was saying about this Mauna Vrata. Yeah, he said devotees don't take Mauna. They are never silent. They're always happy to actually glorify Krishna. So, yeah, so sometimes the verses of Bhagavad Gita, they're, one sense you could say they're speaking to a yogi, to this classical yogic practice. But Prabhupada then reminds us of the topmost yoga system, which is mentioned at the end of the 6th chapter, is to be a devotee. So a devotee naturally has all the qualities of the topmost yogi. Yeah. But the difference is devotees are not sitting there in silent meditation on the Brahman. They're sitting there learning slokas. They're sitting there reading Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. I had this, yesterday I was at Bhagavadantamana, and the next, so we had wonderful morning program. The next program was later in the day, but we were staying there all day. So I was very happy to pull out my what's it called? My Kindle. Yeah, I've got this Kindle. Anyone got Kindles out there? It's a nice thing. You got all the Prabhupada's books. So I sat there. Yeah, I was happy sitting reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. I was very happy. Yeah, for 2 hours. I just sat down and read Chaitanya. And then the other day that happened, I planned, I was on a train. I was going to be on a train for an hour and a half, and I was great. I've got my Kindle with me. I'm going to be all right. Then I pulled out my Kindle and the battery was flat. Oh, no.
My God.
So then, but lucky enough, I had a small book with me, so I pulled that out. But yes, so anyway, any other questions or comments on this from anyone out there?
Prabhu, I was thinking, even sadhaka,
Yes,
Prabhu, because even the sadhakas, we are talking about liberated person enjoys happiness by dual experience, but even sadhakas, they take the commitment, they will chant 16 rounds. Okay, I'm not saying, okay, perfect 16 rounds, but still, you make the commitment because you want to do it. So why you are doing it? Because there is some happiness inside. And serving the Lord, there is some happiness inside.
Yeah.
So our levels are very different to Vaisheshika Prabhu's level. But still, we are just little by little going towards that. Is that right, Prabhu?
Well, that's what we want to come to. We want to chant Hare Krishna not because we've been told to, but we want to chant Hare Krishna because we like to.
Yeah.
This is what Yeah, this is what we want to come to. So at first it may be like that. You
Yeah.
chanted Hare Krishna because you just made a vow 3 months ago in front of all the Vaishnavas to chant 16 rounds. That's called Vaidhi. But then as you begin to become as an attraction begins to manifest, then it becomes more, you could say more spontaneous, but it's not the full definition of Raganuga Bhakti. But it is but it is the mood that is very prominent in latter stages of bhakti, where you're doing activities of bhakti because you have a natural heart's inclination to actually do it. You know, you're not doing it because you've been told to. You're doing it because you want to do it. So devotees will be on different levels.
Yeah.
Like speaking of a level which is nice. Yeah, we're chanting Hare Krishna because we like to do it. But sometimes, isn't it? Sometimes we chant Hare Krishna because we like to chant Hare Krishna. And then we stop chanting Hare Krishna because we lose the taste. We want to do something else. No, let me do something else. So it comes and goes. But with practice, we should develop a natural, loving pleasure in chanting Krishna's holy name, which is always there. That takes some practice, that takes some purification. Yeah.
But I'm sure all the devotees like to do Hare Krishna Kirtan, nothing else. Maybe japa, little bit, okay. Okay, let me complete like that. But Kirtan, definitely, all the devotees
that's
love it.
why Sankirtan is very, very good. It's very, because you've got many devotees and and they're happy chanting. But sometimes you may found, sometimes like I was in a kirtan the other day and I had to leave the kirtan, right? Because there was 3 big prayers of wampus being smashed and my ear couldn't handle it. So I had to go downstairs in a restaurant and listen from downstairs while the raging kirtan went ahead. But yeah, you're right. Sankirtan is very nice. It's easily much the bliss is more, the happiness and the bliss is more easily accessible because of its nature. Yeah. Thank you.
Also, I was realizing that sometimes you chanting and you've done your 16 rounds, but you get so engrossed. Oh, one more, two more, one more. There's not much time, and you want to read as well, but you can't put that beat back down.
Yes, nice. These are things which, especially after 10 years chanting, 5 years, even 10 years, 15 years chanting, it should be a regular thing that you actually like it, and it's not a burden, and you question, why should I stop? Yeah, and then you begin to. That's where there's a stage of. Doesn't mean one's at the stage of bhava, but a symptom of advanced devotion is that one doesn't waste time. So therefore, you begin to plan out and seek ways where you can hear and chant more. You begin to identify where you can save time. That's a natural thing because you're getting a taste for it. And so you like to do it. So it's a natural thing that you do. You don't like to waste time. And wasting time becomes very painful.
It's really funny. Yesterday I had to go, somebody passed away. I had to go all the way to Croydon from here. And I had 3 sister-in-laws. And I just took my bead bag and I done my rounds at home, but I said to them, I need to chant my rounds yet. I haven't done. I've only done 2. I just carried on thinking they're chanting, They think, she's going to do her rounds, I said, yeah, fine.
Yes. Yeah.
We just have to use your intelligence and, work around people,
Yeah, you bring up a very good point. I mean, I know devotees who they regularly say, I've got to finish my rounds. But they finish their rounds. They just want to chant more rounds. But they don't say, because they're very humble, they're not going to say, I've chanted 16 rounds and I'm going to chant another 16. Instead they say, sorry, I can't do that. I have to finish my rounds. What that means is that they're finishing 48 rounds or 32 rounds. But they're very clever how they do it.
Understand. People understand. They think, you're right,
Yeah, when you haven't chanted, so that might be some advice to do. I know devotees to do that. For those of you who are really when you're relishing the holy name, you can, and you're asked to do something. Of course, doesn't mean we neglect the service that's asked by the Vaishnavas. We should do that. But there may be situations where you may tell your friends, "Oh, sorry, I've got to finish my rounds," you know. But you've already chanted 32 rounds. Sorry, I can't go to the eating program tonight at someone's house because I have to finish my rounds, you know. I'd rather stay back and chant another 16 rounds. Anyway, different devotees, different way devotees who've got taste. The way they do, the way they organize their life so they can keep getting that pleasure. Sorry, carry on.
I'm just saying, when you realize that everything depends on the chanting, then you just have to make that effort to just keep chanting, you know. Because everything is going to come from chanting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That also, so I'm studying this at the moment as well. But that means that you have to make the effort. That's called Vaidhi Bhakti. I want to attain the bliss of chanting, therefore I have to chant more. That's Vaidhi mixed with Raganuga. Oh, I want to attain bliss, so I have to chant more. Okay. But actually, real spontaneous means you just do it. You have a natural attraction.
You can see the difference in yourself. You can see, you can see difference.
Well,
you think, oh, yes, this is because of chanting. So you just have, it goes.
Sorry, I keep interrupting. But
Go.
place to start. That's the place to start. Is that you should, at least when you read about, okay, if I chant more, then I might become more Krishna conscious and more blissful. So then we do it. Natural. Yes. So unless one is it, let's go back again. So unless it anta aturama, actively enjoying within. So yeah, there's some comment here as well. Yeah, so by this joy, he conquers the disturbances. Yeah, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions that one cannot obtain liberation just by subduing karma and krodha, passion and anger. It must be situated. He says Atma Tattva here, but Prabhupada explains here, actually moving around. Yeah, in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. It's not just by forcibly keeping desire and anger at bay. Not just that may be of relevance in the beginning, but it's by the happiness of Krishna consciousness that we can really melt them away, where they have no effect on us, actually, where they become neutralized. But let's time 55. Let's have a look at let's try and let's try. Let's go for 24 as well. Or did we just do that?
Yeah, 25.
Okay. Anyway, let's look at the purple. Oh, a bit long. Let's have a look. Okay, I can read from here. I'll read a bit quick. Okay. Labbante Brahmanevanam Brishya Kashina Kaumasaha Chinna Dveda Yatatmanaha Sarvapote Hiterataha. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Okay, let's just read the purple. Only a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. When a person is actually in knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, and when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and supreme friend. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in such first-class welfare work without being liberated in the Supreme. A Krishna-conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. He has no doubt because he is completely freed from all sins. This is the state of divine love. A person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Krishna, he is actually liberated soul. He is a liberated soul, although he may be in a material tabernacle. Let me just read that first sentence again. I was in a person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. All right, there you go. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments here in the closing few minutes? Yeah, it's not always appreciated or understood. Like on the high street, you've got someone collecting for a homeless shelter, you've got someone collecting for some refugees, you've got someone collecting for Badasi Dogs Home, and then you've got a Hare Krishna out there. So which one's doing the benefit to human society? Of course, for persons who do not know, they will say, yeah, actually devotee is doing the actual welfare for society. It's giving people Krishna consciousness. Anyway, any question or comment here?
Prabhu, the whole human society is always towards charity. Whether Hindu, Muslim, Christian, anybody, they just talk about charity and charity and charity.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Actually,
let it go anybody. Yeah,
it's interesting because it's a selfless, it has some aspects of being selfless. And that
yes.
is the original relationship that the soul has with Krishna, is that they render selfless, loving, devotional service. So actually, so it takes on the form here in the material world of being charitably disposed. And I think Srila Prabhupada speaks of the love of the mother for her child. You know, the child may scream and shout and pass store and this, but the mother is selflessly engaged in the service of her child. So yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, we see that in this world, naturally charitable, but it is all a reflection, a distant reflection of the soul's selfless activities in love for the pleasure of the Supreme. So here in this world, it takes on the form of mundane charity and philanthropy. So, you know, it's good there's still some charitable persons in this terrible place. But I think there'll be less as we go on in Kali Yuga.
But this charity is always about, okay, how the best way I can help the person is hungry, we have to give him food, and that's it, and later he will find his way. So we are but that charity comes, they are so charitable, they only think about this life, nothing more. So they don't.
But still we shouldn't condemn. Charity, as you mentioned, it does play a role in human society. Those who have less or those who have more should give to those who have less. You know, so it does play a role in human society. But the highest performance of charity is to actually give people Krishna.
Yes.
Like hospital charitable works for homeless people and things. I mean, it's good. It's better than it's good. All right, let's pause there. 7:02. We pick up tomorrow. Tomorrow, and we'll pick up on verse 26. So please join us for that, and look forward to our continued study of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram.